Alright, let's get into it. So yesterday, the CIA director John Ratcliffe had a secret visit to Moscow, 25th August 2026. And I thought it was really funny. So, they've not told us why he was in Moscow, but we can probably guess why. After the Trump regime lost to Iran in the war, they've been switched tactics to this economic D-Day nonsense, where they want to try and economically harm Iran. Unfortunately, and the pathetic idiot Scott Bessent said to the China and all that, and Iran's friends, Brazil, China, Russia, even Iraq, because Iraq buys a lot of Iranian oil, it's us or Iran. Hey, listen that, liberals. It's us or Iran. You know who to pick, China, Russia, us or Iran. And, well, they all said Iran. Brazil said Iran as well. So did Iraq. Said Iran as well. Now, obviously, they didn't say we pick Iran. But they pretty much said that in diplomatic speak. I'm pretty sure China said that it was an illegal violation of international law. They put in laws so their company doesn't recognize the American sanctions, as they call them illegal. Russia's done the same with Brazil, same with Iraq. I mean, Iraq buys so much Iranian oil, and it obviously wasn't going to work like this. One, Iran is already heavily sanctioned, so it doesn't really work like that. The American puppets in Europe, that's harsh, they're no puppets, but all European countries already sanctioned Iran, and so that doesn't have an effect on it. This whole economic D-Day nonsense by Bessent, the buffoon Bessent, could only work if China was willing to go along with it. And obviously they weren't willing to go along with it. China ignored it, Russia ignored it, Brazil ignored it. And so people are asking, oh, why is Ratcliffe going to Moscow secretly? I'll tell you why he's going to Moscow secretly. And look, I don't know if anything's backing this up. I don't think this is what Moscow is saying. I don't think this is what America's saying. But they lie all the time. They're both regimes. So here's what I think happened. And it's pretty likely. I think Ratcliffe went to Moscow to beg for this economic D-Day because it needs Russia to do it. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Iran and Russia are friends. It's been no secret who Russia's been supporting in this war against the Trump regime, so they were never going to do it. And, well, he's out there, pointless meeting, really nothing happened in it. But this is not what the video is about. This video is about how Putin owns Trump. Like, why would anyone think Ratcliffe was going to go there to be strong on Putin? Trump's never strong on Putin. When has Trump ever been strong on Putin? Let me get, when? People are going all these MAGA cultists going, listen up, liberals. Ratcliffe's gone there to be tough on Putin and the liberal elite in Moscow. So, get up, you liberals. He's he's pro-Ukraine, whatever, I don't know. But let me read you the actual track record of Trump. Let me ask you this one time. When has Trump ever made a joke about Putin? He makes a joke about allies all the time. Makes jokes, even made jokes about Xi Jinping, right? When has he ever made a joke about the Kremlin dictator? Tell me. That's right. It's never happened, and it never will happen, because Trump fears Putin, or something with Putin, but he's never made a joke about it. Second of all, this is very recent, and it's very disgusting by the Trump regime what they did to Ukraine. But this is what happened. And again, this is not me being a partisan hack who hates the Trump regime. This is a fact. Forget me saying this. Just play this clip. Play it.
Mr. President, will you allow Europe to make Patriot interceptors in Europe? Are you comfortable with licensing that technology?
About what?
Patriot interceptors to be made in Europe.
And you're talking with respect to Ukraine. Well, we're going to talk about that. A little birdie told me this about the fact that we'll give them the right to make Patriots. We'll show them how to do it. It's very complex, actually, but it's you'll figure out the complexity quickly. And we're talking about that, and the company that makes them, which is building now 4 plants, all of our companies will be able to do this in 2 to 3 months. If you order a Patriot, now you have to wait a long time for them. Same thing with Tomahawks. We have a lot of certain equipment but with they call it the elite equipment, and you don't need elite equipment necessarily for a war. But so one of the things we're going to be talking about is we're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool, right? Larry? This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I say make them yourself. We haven't informed the company of that yet, but that'll work out all right. You know, I'm sure they'll be thrilled.
All right, now that you've seen this, let me tell you what happened. So, as you saw in that clip, July 8th, 2026, during a joint press conference in Ankara, a NATO summit in Ankara in Turkey. By the way, this NATO summit was kind of pathetic because Trump was like falling asleep in it. Turkey's dictator Erdogan, Turkey's authoritarian leader who must go, was like walking him. It was really weird, but let's know about it. In the summit, Trump said, and you all saw that, we'll give them the right to make patriots, and jokingly added to Zelensky, this way Ukraine won't complain enough about not getting enough aid. Now, obviously, Bankova in Ukraine, Bankova is Ukraine's equivalent to the Kremlin, by the way. So Bankova and Zelensky were celebrating this as a monumental win. Obviously, it's a monumental win. Now, while Ukraine are doing well in the war, do I have Ukraine? I do have Ukraine, right up there. Ukraine are doing well in the war. They don't have any interceptors to intercept Russia with their Shahi drones for Iran and obviously Russian ballistic missiles like that. So obviously this was really good if they could make them in Ukraine. But Putin owns Trump. And now, abrupt walk back at Camp David. So apparently in this Camp David walk back, this is where, according to the Wall Street Journal, Trump crashed out on the drunk buffoon Pete Hegseth, that buffoon. Well, let's know about that. But this is another thing about Hegseth. He renamed it the Department of War and then lost the war to Iran. That is pathetic. But anyway, on July 31st, 2026, Trump completely reversed his stance during a cabinet meeting at Camp David. When questioned about the Patriot program, Trump explicitly denied it, stating, "We have no agreed..." Sorry, I have to read it like Trump. "We have not agreed to that. We're talking about it, but it's a hard thing to give these away. That kind of technology." He went further, saying to give it to Ukraine, the blueprints, was a major risk because those people you give technology to, they could someday turn on you. Which crushed Bankova's hopes of localized production. Which is just insane. Like, what does he mean Ukraine's gonna turn on the United States? Like, that is mental. That is just mental. So, and obviously he did agree to it. I mean, you saw that. That was on July 8th. He agreed to it and he's walked back on it. And just to further show its proof, Lockheed Martin, the company which does that, has also said that, yeah, it's paused, it's not happening, and yeah. And again, who does this benefit? If Ukraine can make Patriot missiles, interceptors at home, who does that benefit? Ukraine. If they don't make that, who does that benefit? Russia, the Kremlin. Doesn't he benefit Bankova? Doesn't he benefit Bankova? Benefits the Kremlin. And who's the Kremlin dictator? The one and only the one and only ex-KGB officer, Vova Putin! By the way, Vova is short for Vladimir. Vlad is short for Vladislav, just in case you're wondering. Anyway, so big Vova over here is getting everything he wants. By the way, see in the middle of the Camp David meeting and the Ankara summit, the Kremlin put out a statement basically saying the administration wouldn't do it. And would you look at that, the Trump regime has folded to the Kremlin once again, just like they do all the time. They never not fold to Putin. And that's just one example. Let me tell you more about it. Oh, by the way, don't get, by the way, Russia is clowning the USA. Russia, even though Trump's a Putin bootlicker, the Trump regime, Russia hates Putin. I mean, what? Well, they probably do. But Russia hates America, and Putin and pro-Putin commentators are clowning America. Putin being a Trump... Wait, what? No. Trump being a Putin bootlicker. What is wrong with me? Anyway, So, obviously, in January 2026, the Trump regime did a barbaric, medieval, and inhumane siege on Cuba. It's very disgusting what they're doing to Cuba. Absolutely repulsive. Like, there's an energy crisis in Cuba. Mexico is importing food and stuff in, but they've banned Mexican oil from going in. Mexico is being defiant though and importing other life-saving stuff, which is very good of Mexico. And the based Claudia Sheinbaum with her 68% approval rating, Keir Starmer could never do that. Sorry. So, yeah, that's one thing. Secondly, so this regime is being barbaric to Cuba, and they're blocking it. However, and here's what it was. It was a de facto naval blockade. They used threatening language about it, and it was terrible. No oil was getting in. Now, however, when Cuba was on the brink of total collapse, you know what the Kremlin did? The Kremlin do things. One, they didn't want to abandon Cuba, Havana, because that's their pal. And two, they wanted to show the world Putin owns Trump. So what happened? Well, I'll tell you. In late March, early April 2026, the Kremlin dictator himself, Putin, authorized major state-owned tankers, including the sanctioned Antalya Kolodin, to carry hundreds of thousands of barrels of crude oil to Cuba's Matanza port. Now, the Kremlin openly boasted about this, with officials stating that Russia considered its duty to break through the US medieval siege. And again, what did the Trump regime do? Nothing! The Trump regime did nothing. They immediately folded. The now gone Caroline Leavitt, or Carrie, the Trump's cute little girl, she said that, well, she didn't say this, but she parroted what Trump said, and the Trump regime said that no problem, I have to quote Trump, no problem with countries, including Russia, sending supplies to the island. Even though earlier he was saying stuff like there would be a friendly takeover of Cuba, and the Trump regime is so good and no one's getting oil into Cuba. So again, Putin has clowned on the Trump regime. Again. Wow. And that's not all. You thought that was all, oh my sweet summer child. The sanctioned Russia State Duma's delegation had a visit to the White House. And again, the Russia State Duma is just Putin puppets. They do whatever Putin wants. Late March 2026, for the first time since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a delegation of pro-Kremlin Russia State Duma lawmakers traveled directly to Washington, D.C. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but this is the equivalent if the Taliban walked up to Hollywood and Neil Gray and the SNP cabinet gave them a tour of Hollywood. It's insane! It's insane! And they were given a tour. The delegation was led by Nikonov, a prominent Putin loyalist and grandson of Stalin's foreign minister. Oh, it was just insane. The MAGA lawmakers were kissing their boots. It was, oh my days. Again, now this Iran war, Trump is lost, the Trump regime lost, the drunk buffoon Pete Hegseth lost. Again, Russia has been pro-Iran. Putin said that he has given Iran intel. So after the Trump regime's lost, again, I already talked about the economic D-Day and Russia laughed at them for it, so did Iran. And after the loss to Iran and Russia helping Iran a lot, again, and what's Trump's response to Iran getting helped by Russia to defeat the Trump regime? To deny Ukraine the Patriot missiles, because Putin didn't want Ukraine to get the Patriot missiles. Again, this is Trump regime stuff. What is the Trump regime? Trump is owned by Putin. And again, Putin's no nice to Trump. He's all, if you watched, why would you be watching state Russian TV? But if you were watching state Russian TV, they laugh at Trump all the time. They love the fact that Iran just decimated the Trump regime with this war. And when I mean decimated. They have virtually no precision missiles. They're down to 800 THAADs, 200, other way, 800 Patriots, 250 THAADs worldwide. It is terrible for the Trump regime, and the Kremlin dictator loves it. But that's not all. Here. Trump never mocks Putin. If anything, Putin mocks Trump. Like, Putin always says to Trump, like I already told you how Trump never mocks Putin. Putin always mocks Trump. G20 summit in Japan, 2019, when a reporter asked Trump the first time if he would tell Russia not to meddle in the US elections, Trump turned to Putin, giving a smirk, mocking wag of his finger, and sarcastically said, "Don't meddle in the election." Putin laughed. He laughed at that. And again, you could say that's just them being friendly, but is it really? Is it just him being friendly? Especially because of what pro-Kremlin-controlled commentators say? I'm not sure. Like, Putin always clowns at Trump. Like, again, Putin says stuff like, in March 2025, Putin was on stage when he announced he had to leave early to make a scheduled phone call with Trump. He said to the crowd, "It's so awkward to make him wait. He could get offended." And no, in a respectful way, he was like mocking him. The crowd were laughing. Putin was like this. Look at this idiot. It was a power play. Again, Kremlin stuff always talks about Trump's sense of humor. Putin said he's admired Trump's sense of humor. Pro-Kremlin media mocks Trump. In the Alaska summit, an American journalist asked Putin if he would stop killing civilians. A very serious question. And you know what Putin did? Just pretended he didn't speak English. Again, power play. And then while Putin was asked when he will stop killing civilians, you know what the Trump just said? He just stood there like an idiot, letting Putin do whatever he wanted. Again, this is Trump absolutely getting owned by the Kremlin dictator. There's no other way to see this. I mean, like, again, just how else do you describe this as but a master-slave dynamic going on here? Vladimir Putin clearly owns Trump. Like, I know if there's a MAGA cultist in my comment, again, this is your alpha male, by the way. Like, see the MAGA cult? These blithering idiots. They think Trump is an alpha male, though he's alpha male. Yeah, he's an alpha male, by the way. He's an alpha male, always getting clowned on by Vladimir Putin all the time. Trump regime says blockade on Cuba. Putin says no blockade on Cuba. Putin says there is no blockade on Cuba. We ignore the blockade on Cuba. Trump regime says war with Iran. Putin says we gave Iran intelligence. We back Iran. Trump regime, after they had to switch this economic D-Day nonsense, Putin says economic D-Day, what a joke. We will not sanction Iran. The Trump regime backtracks on giving Ukraine Patriot missiles. What does Putin and pro-Putin commentators on Russia do? The pathetic President Trump regime has once again backtracked under the might of Putin. Once again, the Trump regime is pathetic. I'm sorry about the Russian accent there, by the way. But again, that's it. No two ways about it. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Cheers.